Hello dear students, how are you all? This is Praful and I welcome you all to my YouTube channel, that is One Page Biology. In today's video, I will be discussing another important question from NEET 2016 biology paper. So let's read the question. The question is, changes in GnRH pulse frequency in females is controlled by circulating levels of option number A is estrogen and progesterone, option number B is estrogen and inhibin, option number C is progesterone only, and option number D is progesterone and inhibin. Dear students, here we need to understand the concept of menstrual cycle, because in the menstrual cycle there are certain hormones which play a very important role. So once we understand the role of hormones, of course after that we will be able to answer this important question. So let's begin with the video, dear students. So dear students, what exactly is menstrual cycle? So as you all can see that in this particular picture, menstrual cycle is nothing but it is a reproductive cycle which occurs in the female primates. What do you mean by female primates? Female primates are nothing but monkeys, apes as well as human beings. So the word reproductive cycle means, dear students, in this particular cycle there are certain hormonal changes which occur inside the body of the female. Precisely, if you ask me, these are the hormonal changes which occur inside the ovary of the female, and these changes occur over a set period of days, or it occurs over a set period of time, and this changes repeat month after month. So dear students, the menstrual cycle begins at the age of around 11 to 12 years in case of female, and this age is known as the puberty. So what exactly do we mean by puberty? Puberty is the age during which the body becomes sexually mature. So whether it is the females or the males, in case of the females this age is roughly around 11 to 12 years, whereas in case of males it is around 12 to 13 years of age. So as I said, in case of females, during the puberty the onset of menstrual cycle begins. The start of menstrual cycle, it is also known as menarche. So it is the menarche during which the first menstrual cycle starts, and this will basically start, and after every 28 days the menstrual cycle will take place. So the menstrual cycle occurs in the females roughly till the age of around 50 years. After 50 years, students, the menstrual cycle stops in case of females, and this period is known as menopause. So basically you can say that approximately from 12 to the age of 50 years the menstrual cycle is active in case of females, and this entire age is known as the reproductive cycle of the female. The four basic phases of the menstrual cycle are nothing but the menstrual phase, the follicular phase, the ovulatory phase, as well as the luteal phase. Now the menstrual phase it starts on the first day of the menstrual cycle and it lasts till the 5th day of the menstrual cycle, whereas the follicular phase starts on the 6th day and it lasts till the 13th day of the menstrual cycle. The ovulatory phase occurs on the 14th day. That means it is only for a single day which it occurs, dear students. And the fourth phase, that is the luteal phase, it starts on the 15th day and it continues till the 28th day of the menstrual cycle. So now let us understand one by one that what exactly occurs in each of these phases. So starting with the first phase, that is the menstrual phase, as I said that it starts on the first day of the menstrual cycle and it lasts till the 5th day of the menstrual cycle. So what exactly happens during the menstrual phase is, dear students, the inner lining of the uterus, which is known as the endometrium. This particular lining, endometrium, consists of blood vessels as well as different endometrial glands. This inner lining of the endometrium ruptures, it breaks, as a result of which the blood vessels break, and at the same time the endometrial glands are also going to break, and there is a lot of blood which is going to be released during this particular phase. And this blood which is released, dear students, is often also referred as the menses or the menstrual fluid. So what we need to know is, in this particular phase the unfertilized egg is also released from this particular menstrual fluid, dear students. So this is very important, which we need to understand. Now going ahead, the next phase, dear students, is known as the follicular phase. The second phase starts from the 6th day to the 13th day of the menstrual cycle. Now dear students, in this particular diagram it is mentioned 1st to 13th, but this is not right, so please make the correction. It is from the 6th day to the 13th day. So during this phase what happens is the development of the follicles occurs. So let me show you the diagram. So dear students, as you all can see in this particular diagram, that this is nothing but the TS of ovary. What is TS? TS means the transverse section of the ovary. So inside the ovary basically you can see there are different types of follicles. So what happens is basically during the follicular phase, that is from the 5th day to the 13th day of the menstrual cycle, there is development of the follicle which is taking place. So there are many hundreds of primary follicles which are present inside the ovary of every female. Each of these primary follicles subsequently mature into secondary follicles. Now the secondary follicle in turn mature into Graafian follicle. So basically what happens here, students, is during each menstrual cycle, roughly only a single secondary follicle actually matures into a Graafian follicle. The rest of the secondary follicles are going to degenerate. So during the follicular phase, the primary follicle develops into secondary follicle and the secondary follicle develops further into the Graafian follicle. Now what is going to happen is the third phase, that is called as the ovulatory phase. Now this phase occurs on the 14th day of the menstrual cycle. So during the 14th day of the menstrual cycle, what happens is this particular Graafian follicle is going to rupture. And once this Graafian follicle ruptures, dear student, it releases the ovum. And this ovum is basically accepted by the ostium which is present in the fimbriae, and it enters inside the fallopian tube. Now comes the last phase, that is the luteal phase. The luteal phase, it starts from the 15th day to the 20th day of the menstrual cycle. Now this is a very important phase, dear students. So what exactly happens in the luteal phase? In the luteal phase, dear students, what happens is the Graafian follicle actually converts into a mass of tissue which is known as corpus luteum. Dear students, if the ovum gets fertilized by the sperm and the fertilization occurs, so what is going to be formed is nothing but the zygote. Zygote will in turn become the embryo, and the embryo is now going to get implanted on the endometrium. So what happens is during this particular luteal phase, the corpus luteum starts secreting the hormone which is known as progesterone. And the progesterone in turn starts making the inner lining of the uterus, that is endometrium, it starts making it thicker and thicker so that it becomes prepared for the embryo to get implanted. So in case if the fertilization does not occur, then in that case the corpus luteum gets converted into this white scar, which is known as the corpus albicans. Now let's talk about the role of hormones in the menstrual cycle, dear students. So basically, as we said, that there are different hormones which play a very important role during the menstrual cycle of females. So there are basic 4 hormones which are very, very important. One is nothing but the FSH. The FSH stands for follicle stimulating hormone. The second is estrogen. The third one is LH. LH stands for luteinizing hormone, and the fourth one is progesterone. Now let us understand one by one. The first one, that is FSH. The full form of FSH, as I said, is follicle stimulating hormone. So why is this particular hormone important? Now dear students, as we said that during the follicular phase, that was the second phase of menstrual cycle, which starts from the 6th day to the 13th day of the menstrual cycle, what was happening was it was a development of follicles. So FSH hormone is important for the development of follicles which take place inside the ovaries, and FSH is actually released by the pituitary gland, that is nothing but by the anterior pituitary. But we all know that pituitary itself is under the influence of another important endocrine gland, that is nothing but the hypothalamus. So basically pituitary gland itself is controlled by hypothalamus, and hypothalamus controls pituitary gland. Further, pituitary gland controls other endocrine glands of the body. So as you can see that here the level of FSH is quite high during the follicular phase. Then again it drops down as the ovulatory phase starts coming. As we go towards ovulation, the level of estrogen is also increasing. So why is estrogen here important? Estrogen is important because the estrogen is going to give signal to the pituitary gland to release the hormone, that is nothing but the LH. And LH is nothing but the luteinizing hormone. So LH is released again by the pituitary gland, specifically the anterior pituitary, which in turn will promote the rupture of Graafian follicle, which we just said that it occurs on the 14th day. So under the influence of LH, the Graafian follicle ruptures and it releases the ovum. So estrogen actually triggers the pituitary gland to release the hormone LH, and that's why estrogen is very, very important, dear students. Now coming back to the fourth hormone, that is progesterone. As you can see that this particular hormone, that is progesterone, is secreted mainly by the corpus luteum, and this is specifically during the luteal phase. So you can remember that the level of progesterone is very high during the luteal phase. So why was progesterone required? Because as we said, corpus luteum releases progesterone to make the inner lining of the uterus more thick so that the endometrium becomes prepared for the implantation of the embryo. So dear students, the question was which hormones regulate the level of GnRH in females? So now, as we all know, that GnRH is actually gonadotropin releasing hormone, which is released by the hypothalamus, and hypothalamus controls the pituitary gland. So that means gonadotropin releasing hormone, which is released by the hypothalamus, it will control the pituitary gland to secrete LH and FSH, right? So until and unless GnRH is released, the LH and FSH won't be released. Okay, so what happens is, here what we need to know is the ovary secretes both the hormones, that is estrogen and progesterone. So the level of estrogen and progesterone actually sends the positive as well as the negative feedback to the hypothalamus, which in turn the hypothalamus will give signal to the pituitary gland to release LH and FSH. So for example, dear students, that as we said that the estrogen level starts increasing as the ovulation is going to occur, that is during the ovulatory phase. So now the estrogen gives positive signal to the hypothalamus to secrete the GnRH. GnRH in turn will give signal to the pituitary gland to release the LH, and LH will help the Graafian follicle to rupture. Same ways, dear students, as the level of progesterone is increasing, in turn the high level of progesterone will basically give the signal to the hypothalamus, and the hypothalamus in turn will stop the secretion of FSH from the pituitary gland, so that the development of follicles is not taking place during the luteal phase. This we have to remember, that both estrogen and progesterone, dear students, are controlling the level of GnRH, that is gonadotropin releasing hormone. So dear students, going back to the question was asking us that which hormones control the circulating levels of GnRH in human females. Now we all know what should be the answer. So the answer is nothing but estrogen and progesterone. So dear students, I hope you understood the concept of menstrual cycle in this particular video. If you have any doubts or suggestions, please mention in the comment section. Okay dear students, I'll see you all in the next video with some another biology related question. Till that time, this is Praful signing off. Take care. Bye bye.